My beloved one, do you feel it? That subtle tremor beneath the surface of your ordinary days, like the earth shifting just before water breaks through after years underground. Like the gentle pull of current in a riverbed you thought had run dry, stirring silt and carrying it toward depths you can't yet see, but somehow sense are clearer, purer. You've been walking through what felt like stillness for so long that you almost forgot what movement feels like, what it sounds like when heaven starts to orchestrate things on your behalf. But I'm here to tell you something that will change how you see every coincidence, every door that opens when you weren't even knocking, every moment of unexpected peace in the middle of chaos. I am moving in your life right now, not someday, not eventually. Now, and there are signs all around you proving it. Fingerprints I've left in the margins of your days that spell out a message you need to hear. I am here, I am active, and I am working everything together for purposes. You're only beginning to glimpse there's a particular quality to the air just before dawn, when darkness is still thick, but something in the atmosphere knows light is coming, knows the sun is already rising, even though the horizon hasn't caught fire yet. You can feel it in your skin, that electric anticipation, that sense that the world is holding its breath before exhaling into illumination. Child of my heart, that's where you are right now. In the trembling moment before breakthrough, in the stirring before the settling, in the movement that's already begun, even though you can't see the full picture yet. And I want to show you the signs, the 7 specific ways I leave evidence of my motion in your life so that you'll stop doubting. Stop second-guessing, stop wondering if maybe you're imagining things or reading too much into coincidences. These aren't coincidences. These are confirmations. And when you learn to recognize them, everything changes. Welcome to Holy Spark Soul. If you're here, you've been praying for breakthrough, begging for clarity, asking me to show you that I haven't forgotten you, that I'm actually doing something behind the scenes even when your circumstances look stagnant. This channel exists because surface-level faith doesn't sustain deep seas in waiting. And today we're diving into something both practical and profound. The 7 signs that prove I'm moving in your life right now. If this is your first time here, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're building a community that learns to recognize God's handwriting in everyday moments, that refuses to miss the miracles hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the quiet before the obvious. You've been in seasons that felt like nothing was happening, where every prayer seemed to bounce off the ceiling, where you wondered if maybe I'd put your file at the bottom of the stack and forgotten to get back to you. But my child, what if I told you that the seasons that feel most dormant are often when I'm doing the deepest work? What if the stillness you've been interpreting as absence is actually me moving pieces into place underground, rerouting rivers you can't see, preparing foundations for buildings you haven't imagined yet? The signs I'm about to show you aren't always dramatic. They're often subtle, whispered, easy to miss if you're only looking for burning bushes and parted seas. But when you learn to see them, when you tune your spirit to recognize my frequency, you'll realize I've been speaking all along. Think about Gideon. He's hiding in a winepress, threshing wheat in secret because he's terrified of the Midianites who've been oppressing Israel. And an angel appears and calls him a mighty warrior, which must have seemed like cruel sarcasm given where he was and what he was doing. Gideon asks for signs. He puts out a fleece and asks me to make it wet while the ground stays dry. I do it. Then he asks for the reverse dry fleece, wet ground. I do that too. And those confirmations, those signs, they become the foundation of faith that carries him into battle and victory. My beloved one, I didn't rebuke Gideon for asking for signs. I gave them to him because I know you need confirmation. I know faith isn't always feeling, but sometimes it's seeing. And I'm generous enough to leave evidence.org consider Elijah by the brook Cherith. I tell him to go there and hide, and I'll command ravens to feed him. Ravens, unclean birds, bringing bread and meat morning and evening to a prophet in hiding. That's a sign. That's me saying, I'm moving, I'm providing. I'm orchestrating nature itself to care for you in ways that make no logical sense, but that work perfectly. And when the brook dries up, I send him to a widow who's down to her last meal, and I multiply her oil and flour until the famine ends. Every raven arrival was a sign. Every refilled jar was proof. I was moving even when everything around him screamed scarcity and danger. Then there's Mary at the wedding in Cana. The wine runs out, which in that culture is a social catastrophe. She tells me about the problem, and I say, it's not my time yet. but she tells the servants anyway, "Do whatever he tells you." And I turn water into wine, but the best wine, better than what they started with. The sign wasn't just a miracle. It was Mary's certainty that I would move even when I said it wasn't time yet. She recognized something in me that the others didn't. A readiness to act that transcended my stated timeline because she knew my heart. So what are the signs, my child? What are the 7 ways I leave evidence that I'm moving in your life right now? Let me walk you through them. Not as a checklist, but as a conversation, as a unveiling of patterns you've been living but haven't named yet. Notice first how doors you thought were sealed, tight, suddenly crack open with the softest push. You weren't even trying that hard, weren't even sure you wanted what was behind them. And yet there it is, an opportunity, an invitation, a pathway that materialized out of nowhere. Revelation 3:8 says, "I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut." When I'm moving, doors open. Not because you're forcing them, not because you're particularly qualified or deserving, but because I've gone ahead of you and loosened the hinges, greased the locks, and whispered to the gatekeepers that you're coming, child of God. If you've been experiencing unexpected opportunities lately, if people are reaching out who haven't contacted you in years, if positions are opening up that you didn't apply for, that's not luck. That's me moving. Then notice the peace that settles over you even when circumstances should be producing panic. Philippians 4:7 promises that my peace, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. When I'm moving, peace comes not because problems disappear, but because my presence crowds out the anxiety. You find yourself sleeping through storms that used to keep you awake. You find yourself calm in conversations that used to trigger you. You find yourself trusting in situations that used to terrify you. That peace isn't you finally mastering your emotions. That's me moving, settling over your spirit like a blanket, whispering that I've got this even when you don't see how. Pay attention to the recurring themes that keep showing up in your life like a chorus you can't ignore. A verse keeps appearing everywhere you look. A phrase someone said echoes in 3 different conversations in 1 week. A dream plants a seed that grows into a vision you can't shake. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." When I'm moving, I orchestrate synchronicities that stack up until you can't dismiss them as random. I'm speaking through repetition because I know you're prone to doubt, prone to think you're reading too much into things. So I say it again, and again, and again, until you finally stop and say, "Okay, I'm listening. What are you trying to tell me?" Watch for the people who appear in your life with uncanny timing, carrying exactly what you need: a word, a skill, a connection, a perspective that shifts everything. Hebrews 13:2 reminds us that some have entertained angels unaware. When I'm moving, I send people as emissaries, as carriers of provision or confirmation or challenge. That person who sat next to you on the plane and started a conversation that led to a job offer, that friend who called out of the blue the day you were ready to give up, that stranger who said something that answered a question you'd been praying about for weeks. My beloved one, I move through people. And when you start seeing the pattern, when you realize how often the right person shows up at the right time with the right thing, you'll know my hand is orchestrating meetings that look casual but are divinely appointed. Notice the inner shifts that surprise you, the ways you're responding differently to old triggers, the grace you're extending where bitterness used to live, the hope rising where cynicism once ruled. 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares that if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away, behold, the new has come. When I'm moving, transformation happens from the inside out. You wake up one day and realize you've forgiven someone you swore you never would. You catch yourself speaking life instead of complaint. You find yourself grateful in circumstances that used to make you miserable. That's not personal development. That's my spirit doing in you what you couldn't do for yourself, reshaping your heart to reflect mine. Pay attention to the provision that shows up just before you need it or just after you've run out. The way resources appear through channels you didn't anticipate. Philippians 4:19 promises that my God will supply every need according to his riches in glory. When I'm moving, provision comes not always in the form you expected, not always on your timeline, but always sufficient. The check arrives the day before the bill is due. The favor comes through a person you barely know. The opportunity emerges just as the old one closes. You look back over the past few months and see a trail of provision that makes no earthly sense but perfect divine sense. Child of my heart, I'm Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides. And when I'm moving on your behalf, you'll see it in the practical ways I take care of you. And finally, watch for the growing desire to align your life more fully with my purposes. The restlessness with comfort zones, the hunger for deeper intimacy, the willingness to obey, even when it costs you. When I'm moving, I stir hunger in you for more of me. You're not satisfied with shallow faith anymore. You're asking harder questions, pressing into prayer with more intensity, surrendering areas you used to protect. That hunger isn't you trying harder. That's me drawing you, pulling you deeper, inviting you into partnership with what I'm doing. John 6:44 says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him." If you're feeling drawn, if you're sensing a pull towards something greater, that's proof positive that I'm moving. I'm the initiator, and every spiritual hunger you feel is me calling you closer. So what do you do with these signs, my beloved one? How do you cooperate with the movement instead of missing it or resisting it? You start by pausing long enough to notice. You keep a journal of the stirrings, the open doors, the unexpected peace, the recurring themes, the timely people, the inner shifts, the surprising provision, the growing hunger. You write them down so you can trace patterns, so you can look back when doubt creeps in and remind yourself that I've been showing up consistently. That these aren't isolated incidents, but a sustained campaign of evidence that I'm at work. You align your actions with the pull you're sensing. When a door opens, you walk through it, even if it feels scary. When peace settles over a decision, you trust it, even if it doesn't make logical sense. When a theme keeps recurring, you lean into it instead of dismissing it. When a person shows up, you pay attention to what they're carrying. When transformation happens inside you, you cooperate with it instead of reverting to old patterns. When provision comes, you steward it wisely. When hunger stirs, you feed it with my presence. You become an active participant in what I'm orchestrating instead of a passive observer waiting for clearer instructions. And child of God, you share what you're seeing with trusted community. You bring your signs into fellowship and ask, are you seeing this too? Because sometimes confirmation comes through the collective witness. Through other people recognizing my movement in your life and affirming what you're sensing. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 reminds us that two are better than one, and if one falls, the other can lift him up. You're not meant to discern alone. You're meant to be part of a body that helps each other see clearly, that points out fingerprints you might have missed, that celebrates the evidence together. Here's what I want you to understand at the deepest level. The signs aren't about proving I exist or that I care. You already know that, even when doubt clouds it. The signs are about building your confidence that I'm specifically, personally, actively engaged in your story right now. They're about training your spiritual eyes to see beyond the surface, to recognize that what looks like ordinary life is actually shot through with divine intent. They're about helping you trust that when I say I'm working all things together for good, I mean it hand. Here's the evidence in your actual life, in your actual circumstances, in your actual days, my beloved one. You're not imagining things. You're not reading too much into coincidences. You're finally seeing what's been there all along my hand moving in your life, arranging, providing, opening, confirming, transforming, supplying, drawing, and the more you see it, the more you'll see it. The more you recognize one sign, the more attuned you become to spotting the others. It's like learning a new language. At first it sounds like noise, but as you learn the vocabulary, the grammar, the patterns, suddenly you're understanding conversations you used to miss. That's what's happening now. You're learning to speak the language of divine movement, and once you're fluent, you'll never feel alone or forgotten again. Reflecting on passages like this through a psychological lens can illuminate how ancient expressions of discernment and direction mirror our own inner dialogues, fostering resilience through honest expression. Yet, if these themes stir deeper unrest, a conversation with a wise counselor might offer tailored clarity. But here's the word I'm sealing over you today. I am moving. Right now, in ways you're beginning to perceive, in ways you haven't noticed yet. The 7 signs I've shown you are just the beginning, just the most obvious fingerprints. There are dozens more if you keep watching, keep paying attention, keep expecting to see my hand. And as you do, as you trace the tremors and follow the current and recognize the signatures I'm leaving everywhere, Your faith will grow, not through gritting your teeth and trying harder, but through accumulated evidence that I've never stopped moving on your behalf. If this message awakens something in you, if you started recognizing signs you've been dismissing, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your favorite scripture about God's movement, His guidance, His faithfulness in action. Share which of these 7 signs you've been seeing lately. Let this community witness together the ways I'm showing up in real time, in real lives, through real and undeniable proofs. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Holy Spark Soul and turn on those notifications. We're here every week exploring the ways I speak, the patterns I use, the signatures I leave. I'd also encourage you to check out our deep dive into Psalm 109 next, where we explore how even the hardest prayers reveal my active engagement, my beloved one. Go from this place with eyes trained to see, with spirit tuned to recognize, with confidence that I'm moving. Watch for the doors. Feel the peace. Notice the themes. Receive the people. Celebrate the transformation. Trust the provision. Feed the hunger. And know that every sign is a love letter. Every fingerprint is a promise. Every tremor is proof that I haven't forgotten you, haven't abandoned you, haven't stopped working on your behalf. The movement is here. The signs are everywhere. And you, child of my heart, you're finally awake enough to see them. Keep watching. Keep trusting. Keep following the current. Because where I'm leading is better than anywhere you've been. I'll see you in the next one.